Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling something huge, something that's hiding in plain sight in the AI revolution, and that's trust. With all the headlines flying around about faster models and bigger investments, it's pretty easy to get lost in the hype. But underneath it all, there's one question that's starting to matter more than anything else. Yeah, that's it. Trust. It's the one thing, the single thread that actually ties together pretty much every major AI story you're hearing about right now. It's a full-blown crisis. All right, so to really get a grip on this, we're going to break it down. We'll look at 5 key areas. You could almost call them battlegrounds, where this whole fight for trust is playing out as we speak. So, first up, AI's new flashpoint. Our story really kicks off with one high-profile incident that just blew the lid off the trust problem for everyone to see. So here's what happened. Google had to yank its Gemma model from its public AI studio. Why? Well, it allegedly just made up some criminal allegations against a sitting US senator. Google's response was basically, hey, this tool is for developers, not for asking factual questions. And they admitted that, yeah, these hallucinations are a known issue. The model's still out there, but now you can only get to it through a developer API, not the public playground. Now, this is where it got really serious. The senator didn't just see this as a technical glitch. No, in a letter to Google's CEO, she called it a chilling example of real-world harm and even suggested it was part of a broader political bias. By framing it that way, the stakes just skyrocketed. It wasn't just a bug anymore. It became a political and legal crisis for Google and a huge warning shot for every other AI lab out there. So what's the fallout? We're seeing this push towards what people are calling gated openness. Instead of just throwing powerful models out into the wild, companies are getting way more cautious. They're restricting access, putting them behind these gates to try and prevent this kind of reputational and regulatory disaster from happening again. This whole incident really shines a light on a huge dilemma at the heart of AI. Do you focus on controlling what the AI says, the output? Or do you go back to the very beginning and focus on what it learns from, the input? Let's dig into that. This slide lays it out perfectly. You've got 2 sides of the trust coin here. On one side, you have the output problem. That's what Google is wrestling with, right? Trying to stop its model from saying false or defamatory things. But on the other side, you have the input solution, a totally different strategy that's all about building models with verifiable, clean data from the get-go. And a great example of this is a company called Perplexity. They're doing something pretty smart. They're on a product blitz, shipping all these new tools to get into your daily workflow. But at the exact same time, they're making these big public deals, like with Getty Images, to license data. They're basically building a fortress of trust, making sure their content is attributable and legally safe while their competitors are getting hit with lawsuits. And this points to a massive shift in the whole industry. We are witnessing the birth of a data licensing economy. The whole scrape first, ask for forgiveness later approach, that was kind of the Wild West of early AI, is dying. Now, having verifiable, licensed data isn't just a nice to have, it's becoming a huge competitive advantage. Okay, but this battle for trust, it isn't just happening in code or in data licensing deals. It's escalating into a full-blown global power struggle over the actual physical hardware, the compute that makes all of this AI possible. And the amount of money we're talking about is just staggering. Look at these projections for 2025 capital spending on data centers. You've got the US hyperscalers pouring in over $350 billion. Now compare that to Chinese providers at around $70 billion. The sheer scale of the US bet is just immense. And this is not just about who can spend the most. It's turned into this fascinating game of global chess, what some are calling compute diplomacy. You see Microsoft making a massive $15 billion investment in the UAE, which just so happens to secure them US licenses to export powerful chips. Then you have political statements about keeping the most advanced chips for US companies only. Everyone is making moves. China is scaling up. Saudi Arabia is leveraging its cheap energy. It's a race to control the physical foundation of AI. So, with literally hundreds of billions of dollars being poured into servers and chips, investors are starting to ask a really, really important question. Is this whole thing a bubble? Can we actually trust the financial bet on AI? I mean, just look at this number. Over $288 billion. And that's not the whole industry. That's the combined planned spending for just Amazon, Google, and Meta in a single year. When you see numbers like that, you have to wonder what the return on that investment is going to look like. So if you're an investor, how do you even play this? Well, there are a few strategies emerging. You can go broad with diversified funds, or you could try the picks and shovels play, betting on an essential supplier like the chipmaker TSMC. And then there's the more focused approach, making concentrated bets on giants like Apple and Amazon, who are weaving AI deep into the products we already use every day. This all boils down to a huge debate in the market. You've got the bubble argument, which says all this spending is crushing profits for a payoff that's still pretty uncertain. But then there's the runway argument. This side says, yeah, it's a ton of spending, but it's just like the dot-com era. We're building the infrastructure now to make AI cheap and everywhere later. The long-term trend seems undeniable. And that brings us to our final battleground. And this one might be the most personal and important of all, building a trusted reality. I mean, can you even believe your own eyes and ears anymore? As AI gets scarily good at creating fake images, videos, and audio, one of the key solutions on the horizon is something called digital watermarking. Google's championing a version called SynthID. Think of it like an invisible, permanent signature that gets embedded right into AI-generated content. It's a way to prove where something came from. Is it real or is it synthetic? But a watermark alone is not enough. The industry is realizing they need a whole system of defenses, what they're calling a safety stack. It's a layered approach. You start with policy classifiers so developers can set their own rules. Then you add watermarks like SynthID to label content right when it's created. And you wrap it all in open standards so everyone's tools can actually talk to each other and work together. And look, this might sound like high-level tech talk, but this stuff matters to you, personally. That fight over data inputs, that's going to decide whether you can trust the answers you get from a search engine. This whole spending debate, it's going to shape the performance of tech stocks and maybe even your retirement fund. And things like watermarking, they're going to be absolutely crucial for telling fact from fiction in your own social media feed. So when you pull back and you look at the whole picture, it becomes crystal clear. From the code a developer writes, to the capital an investor bets, to the content you see on your phone, trust is the indispensable layer. It's the foundation that AI needs to actually be integrated into our society. Which leaves us with one final thought. As AI becomes woven into the very fabric of our world, the big question isn't just about the tech anymore. It's about us. Who are you choosing to trust and why? Because in this new era, that's not a passive choice anymore. It's one of the most important decisions we're all going to have to make.